Our first speaker is Cath Holland, who's going to be talking about life after death.
One, two. Oh yes, I'm Cath Holland, and my husband died August 2019. We've been married 24 and a half years. He suffered from bowel cancer, and yes, it's just over 2.5 years ago that he died. This is also one of our boozy Saturday afternoons after his cancer diagnosis, because we were determined to make as much of the time he had left together, and we did have awful lot of lovely, gently boozy afternoons. Now, there's a lot more. Women tend to live longer than men, and as a consequence, there's more widows in the world than widowers. We often suffer lots of prejudice, sexual violence, property grabbing, and also quite often forced to marry our husband's brothers, which is a bit weird. Lots of... Ever since I've been a widow, I've noticed there's an assumption at the moment in 2021 that we're all loaded and we're all living off very nice big fat life insurance policies, which can assure is absolutely not the case. Here we have Courtney Onassis Kennedy and the awesome Ms. Courtney Love. They're seen as being on the opposite ends of the morality spectrum for widows, when in reality, most of us are somewhere in the middle. The Victorians were very much into making women wear widows' weeds for up to 4 years after their husbands died. The younger and more attractive a woman was, the longer she had to wear black and wasn't able to move into lilac and other pretty colours. The sheer number of sightings of Elvis after he died at the age of 42 only makes me assume that we can't deal with the concept of a young death. We struggle, and it reminds us of our own mortality. It's okay to say the wrong thing. There's nothing you can say to a widow, really, that's going to make it worse than it already is. The worst thing you can do, actually, is just never mention the husband or boyfriend's name, because we don't want our loved ones to be forgotten. Having said that, people do say some very inappropriate things. Never compare the death of a boyfriend or husband to the loss of a cat or dog. Being bereaved is not the same as splitting up with someone or being divorced. So there's just two small tips to bear in mind. I love this Carolyn Flack phrase. I know she wasn't a widow, but in a world where you can be anything, be kind. And of course we should be kind to everyone, but widows, I think we deserve extra drinks and extra presents, to be honest. When my husband died, I had a lot of really bad memory loss. I had a problem with buses. I used to get on the wrong bus, get off at the wrong bus stop, and also, quite disturbingly, I used to hear him in the middle of the night calling to me to come down and tend to him, which is, and this is the increase in libido when one loses one's husband or boyfriend is not very well publicised. You don't see it in the leaflets, you don't see it in the brochures, and the bereavement counsellors do not tell you about it whatsoever, but it's a very common occurrence. Andy's Beatles records, I keep them in my front room. They're in chronological order of the day they were released. I tend to them, I dust them, and I look after them. I listen to them every Sunday morning. What we widows say when we say, do you want something to remember him by? We don't mean have a copy of the White Album. What we mean is, do you want a jumper like this gentleman's wearing here, a paperback book, or do you want to discuss a precious memory that we shared? That's what we want to people to remember him by. A very interesting survey by Oxford University found that within 50 years, there's going to be more dead people on Facebook than living. I'm not sure what to do with this fact, but I find it genuinely absolutely fascinating that it's where the dead can gather. Anniversaries for widows are often a very painful experience. Things like wedding anniversaries, the anniversary that you died, the anniversary of first date. So if you do know any widows, it's always worthwhile checking in on those very, very painful days. I've said there's nothing you can say to make it worse, but stay clear of any cliches. He'd be so proud of you. And also, if someone's died of cancer, the worst thing you can say is that lost their battle with cancer. Really gets on my tits, can't stand that one. Also, bear in mind, a lot of us widows were very bad at communicating, so we need our friends and family to be very proactive. Rather than leave us to make the decisions when to meet, encourage us. Do you want to come for a coffee? Can I mow your lawn? Can I drive you somewhere? Because we are stuck in a loop. It feels like we're stuck in a loop. When we lose our person, we're stuck in this world of grief, and everyone else seems to be carrying on with their journeys. albeit probably at a different pace from before. And finally, we have the smoking hearth, Tim Buckley there with his happy, sad album cheapos like wing mirrors. And just a reminder, that emotional balance, to be happy, and also it's good to be sad sometimes when we're grieving. Just be sad, but let it go, but don't be sad all the time. Thank you.
Just between the pages.